Lessons from the life of Nimrod teaches how easy it is to not only become an apostate, but how to influence others. Millenniums later, the story of Noah and the flood is still being told, with varying differences between cultures and countries, but with the same implication. Nimrod, the great-grandson of Noah, must have learned firsthand from his surviving ancestors of the flood the reason for God's judgment and the promise of redemption. However, despite all the evidence, Nimrod chose to oppose God's authority. Fearing the fate of Noah's prophecy against Ham, his grandfather, Nimrod devised a plan to conquer and subdue men, in an act of resistance to his prophesied future of servitude. His actions were not against men, but in apostasy against God. He chose to believe Satan's deceptive lie, "Ye shall be as gods." Nimrod wanted to be a god. Though Nimrod was credited for building the city of Babel, which is in modern-day Iraq, its history is filled with violence and idolatry. He was also responsible for global spiritual decline and confusion of languages. While he was considered a mighty man, all of his achievements amounted to rebellion against God. He was mighty in doing evil. His ancestors have continued his legacy of apostasy and violence. When great men die, their obituaries emphasize the good things they did. The effects of Nimrod's achievements are chronicled throughout the Bible, with its conclusion in the book of Revelation. His memoirs were for being a great hunter. Only those he hunted were God's people. His influences were for evil and not good. Men who oppose God will pass their influences on to their children. Their children will continue a legacy of apostasy against God's law. They will be just as rebellious and idolatrous as their fathers were. They will continue the violence and persecution toward those who would seek to serve God. The Nimrods of today are alive and well in this 21st century. Apostasy against God's authority involves doubting his existence or disobeying his commandments, idolatry, and violence, qualities of which Nimrod possessed. Such can influence others to doubt and disobey or lead them into believing they are their own gods, which is idolatry. Nimrod could have been a mighty man of God by using his influence for good, drawing men to God rather than driving them away from him into perpetual idolatry. If you are a mighty man of influence as Nimrod was, you can use your influence for good, and be counted a citizen in that great city at the end of this earth's history. Depart from evil, do good, and dwell forevermore. Psalm 37, verse 27.